Hey, what's going on? I haven't been super consistent with posting on YouTube. I've kind of been going back and forth on what kind of content I want to post, how much I want to post, and so on. But I feel like I've finally hit a point where I know what I want to do. And for me, that looks like posting once a week a recap on that week where I go over the numbers. I go over improvements, things that didn't go well, any sort of updates, but then also learning lessons. And then also doing that on a monthly basis on top of the weekly reports. So I'm gonna try and stay consistent with that for a few months now to see how that goes. And I might also try to blow up my personal brand on my main channel, but this is gonna be more of a journal to myself kind of thing. So let's dive in. This is gonna be the first video with this topic, which is August. So August recently ended, and I want to talk about how August went, the biggest learning lessons, if it was a good month, bad month, what progress we made, and so on. So starting off with kind of a status update. So August was the first full month where we tried to start selling. So we had spent 3 months where we just rebuilt our product and rebuilt our backend processes after having lost everything and gotten into debt. So we were trying to build everything back up and get in a better spot before we started selling for 3 months. And then in August we were done with that and we could finally start selling again. And one learning lesson that I've had is that in business everything always happens slower than you want it to, and I always over forecast how well things will go. So the biggest thing for August was just pretty much expecting to get a bunch of sales, but getting zero sales in the whole month, which was very disappointing, and constantly just improving the sales machine, which was a good thing. Now, in terms of revenue, it was our lowest revenue month that we've had this whole year. So even worse than in January, where we did 110K before we scaled up. So like really low in revenue, but I'm fine with that because there was so much learning to be had. And the profit also was low because of the fact that we got a few disputes, and I learned that you want to make sure that you avoid disputes over anything else, because depending on your payment processor, you're usually gonna lose disputes. So it's not worth having, and one dispute can offset 10 happy customers in terms of profit. So good month in terms of inputs. I learned a lot, I grew a lot. My physique got a lot better. I feel like I have the best physique I've ever really had. And that's something I'm really proud of and I continue working on. So let's dive in to actually speak about some of my learning lessons in August. I'm going to be looking here because I got my notes here. The first one is one that I kind of been hinting at, which is that you will see the business and the life today of the work you put in 1 month to 6 months ago. And this is something I've constantly just repeated to myself. But if you're having a lot of success right now, if you feel like you're getting more and more jacked, if you feel like business is just flowing the way you want it to, it's probably not because you're doing amazing now. It's because you were doing amazingly 1-2 months ago. And if you're struggling right now and you feel like I'm putting in all the work but nothing's happening, it's not because you're doing anything wrong now necessarily. It's because 1 to 2 months ago you were messing up. So think about 1 month ago. What were you doing then? What bad habits were you incorporating? And that's probably why you live the life you live today. And it goes both ways. Which means that I can start hitting the gym today, but I won't see the scale go up or down, and I won't see my physique change today. I'm gonna see that in a month. And it can get very discouraging when you want to start a new habit and you see nothing for a month, 2 months, 3 months. But I just want to remind you to keep doing the work, because in a month you're gonna thank yourself for it. And it's almost a bit scary because nowadays when I win, I know that, hey, I'm probably not doing very well now, or I might, but that's not the reason that I'm winning. The reason I'm winning is because of the work I did 1 or 2 months ago, if not further back. And it's good to always keep that in mind and be like, hey, if you take it easy now, you're not gonna suffer now. You're gonna suffer in a month. And will the 1 month older person be proud of that or no? So that's my first learning lesson. The next one is one that I kind of been learning more and more recently, but especially last month. That's when I actually took action on it. So I read a book called Profit First. I highly recommend it. And the kind of key thing that I got out of it was that profit will always go first. And a lot of people seem to not understand this. You don't run a business because it's fun. Of course, you might enjoy it. But if you search up what a business is and the goal of a business, it's to make a profit. You make a business to make a profit, which means that if you are unprofitable, you're fundamentally doing business wrong. Which is really interesting because a business naturally will always regress to breaking even. If you think about it, for you to make a profit, you need to have some sort of an arbitrage. You need to provide more value than it costs you to provide that value, and then you gotta charge appropriately. And basically what I'm saying is that it's unnatural for a business to be profitable, but the goal of a business is to be profitable. And that leads a lot of people to not really consider profit when they run their business. And they always want to scale up the revenue numbers or their valuation or whatever, but they don't actually look at the bottom line number. And I've kind of only been obsessed over profit lately, and it's amazing because that's what actually, feeds you and your family. I got this quote from a friend of mine called Cameron England. He says, revenue feeds the ego, but profit feeds the family. And I think it's a good saying for sure. Now, the easiest way you can start increasing your profits today, and what I kind of did last month, was number one. This one is going to sound weird and it's going to sound simple and you might not do it, but I beg you to do it. I realized that if I would have done what I'm about to say when I started my business, I would have roughly $50,000 more than I have today. Basically, what it is to take your total amount of money in your bank, take 5% of it and put it in a different bank account. And then in that different bank account, every time you get a check, every time you collect any cash for your business, take 5% and put it in this different bank account. And that's money that is pure profit. Why 5%? Because 5% is not going to change how you do business whatsoever. It's not going to change a thing. And you might want to do more, but I encourage you not to do more because you want it to be so little so that it doesn't change how you do business and it doesn't put you in a bad spot. But the golden rule is that you can never take that 5% bank account and put that back into the business. Never. You can only do one of three things with it. Either you reinvested it in yourself, so like learning new skill sets and so on, but not reinvesting in the business. Secondly, you can buy things for yourself, go on trips, live the life that you want. Or third, you can save that money. But you can't do anything else than that. You can't put it back into the business. You can't use that if money ever gets tight. And then you're going to see that if you're making 100K a month, this is going to be 5K of pure profit that you just added. But your business is not going to change in any way possible. And what you're going to find is that you're just going to end up cutting costs without even thinking about it, so that you end up at the same amount in the bank account that you had right before. So it's like you magically just get 5% extra. And next one is look at all your software expenses and just see what you can cut. Next one is just negotiate all your terms with different companies and stuff. It's really interesting, but people don't consider that you can negotiate down terms. And you don't need to be sleazy doing it. Just ask your payment processor, your agency that you might be using for marketing, whatever. Just ask everybody you work with, like, hey, I'm looking to increase the scale of and volume of work that we're doing together, but the cost is kind of creeping up on my bottom line. So for us to continue working, I wanted to ask you if you could cut our processing fees from 3% to 2.5% or whatever, right? And I did that and doubled my profits. So insane. And then another thing is that the two most expensive things for a business similar to mine is always going to be payroll and ad spend. So see where you can cut unprofitable ads and run ads with intention. Don't just spend money without looking at where the ROI is. And then secondly, it's very easy to, before you hire somebody, just take their comp. Let's say that they're going to earn a 8% commission if they're a PSM, Partner Success Manager. Just pay them 7%. And it's not going to impact anything in if they take the job or anything alike. But it's going to save you 1% extra of your revenue, which if you have 20% profits, that's going to increase your profit margins by 5%, which is quite a bit. And then that's profit. Next one is find your why's. I don't think that's how you say it. find your vices. And what a vice is basically something that's holding you back in your life. It's a bad habit. It might be that you drink energy drinks. It might be that you watch porn. It might be that you like to sleep way more than you should, like 11 hours a day. It might be that you watch way too much YouTube. It might be that you play too much chess, whatever. It's just a bad habit that you have. Find your vices at all times and just kill your vices. Because your vices will always be the kind of thing that holds you back more than anything else. For example, if you have a vice of always, for example, watching motivational videos, super common one, you're going to end up spending like 5 hours a week on that. And then if you think about the best thing you could do with 5 hours a week, let's say you're taking 5 extra sales calls a week. At a 20% close rate, that would be 1 extra client a week. That would be 4 extra clients a week. And if you charge a $2,000 a monthly retainer, if you run an agency, that would be $8,000 extra per month in added recurring revenue from just cutting out motivational videos. It's insane to think about, but that's the kind of power that vices have over you. Some of the vices that I've struggled with recently is watching too much YouTube, business YouTube content, but it's still YouTube. I struggle with playing Clash Royale. It's a really, really dumb thing, but I used to be really good at Clash Royale and actually compete in it when I was young. So I downloaded it to play with a friend that I met for the first time in like a year, and then I just ended up spending way too much time on that. Another vice is that I spend way too much doing research on different things that doesn't impact my life whatsoever. I ask ChatGPT about World War II or about how a really famous celebrity was assassinated or whatever. Just waste of time. Find your vices and then figure out how you can kill your vices, because they're gonna drain your life. And some things you might be willing to spend time on and just do a sacrifice, but know if it's that or if it's you being a pussy. And then the next one, my last learning lesson for August was to do the basics consistently. Businesses don't fail because of starvation. They fail because of over-ingestion. You do too many things. It's not that you don't know what to do. It's that you don't do the basics well enough. You try to get fancy and you see how you can get a 1% conversion rate optimization, or how you can try this new marketing angle. But you don't meet with your sales team to train them every week. You don't do consistent meetings with the team to get feedback on what you can do better as a company. You don't do consistent one-on-ones giving people feedback. Like, do the basic stuff that you know how to do. Do weekly sales training. Do the boring work. Speak with your customers. Ask them how your product can be better. Do those things. Track your data. And if you just do that consistently and you stop trying to grow, you're going to grow on autopilot. Because that's what grows a business. It's not that fancy new thing. It's doing the basics consistently. And if I look at every time my business has declined and gotten worse, it's just because I've stopped doing one of the basics. That's my learning lessons for August. I know that this video might be a bit all over the place, but it's the first ever report on a month that I've ever done. So I'm fine with that. And it's for me, not for you, although I appreciate you watching this. So I'm going to make my next video be about the learning lessons that I might have for the first week in September. So I'll see you there. I have a feeling, I can genuinely feel that September is going to be an incredible month. I feel like we're on the tipping berg of just having worked our ass off for month over month over month for nothing to happen, and then everything explodes. And I feel like we're going to do so much progress in September. I'm excited to see. Speak soon. Goodbye.